Hey guys, so today is October 29th. So I'm probably going to upload this on a later date or might do it later tonight. I just want to do this video because last week I said I was going to talk about it and I kind of want to do it just for my own records because I feel like it's kind of an important experience. So last week I had my first open class. So pretty much when you teach, you do have a Korean co-teacher with you in your class. And depending on you and your teacher's relationship as well as also like your personality and how if you've taught before, if you've never taught before, your co-teacher will always will sometimes be 50-50, so you might do like 20 minutes, or you might do it together, so you take turns talking, or you might teach a lesson together. I know some experiences, the co-teacher is 100% teaching and you're pretty much the helper, so it's kind of like 90-10, and then sometimes it's reversed, so you're doing most of the teaching, and then the co-teacher is more for like disciplinary action because you might not know Korean, so either you might not know Korean or maybe you don't want your kids to know that you know Korean, so the co-teacher would do the disciplinary action. So you're kind of like the fun teacher, you teach all the fun material, and then the co-teacher plays like the bad cop, so good cop, bad cop. So for me, I have two co-teachers, and one of them I teach 7 classes with, so like 14 classes a week with her because I teach each class twice a week. And with her, it's pretty much 50-50. I feel that as the longer that I've been here, it's kind of more like being 60-40 or 70-30. But sometimes there are days where I'm tired and she's not, so it'll be reversed. So me and her are we're pretty cohesive. I feel like a really good team. And then my other co-teacher, I teach 2 classes with a week, so 4 times a week. And with her, it's the other way. So with her, it's pretty much like 99% me and 1% her. And she's mostly for translation when and only if I do instructions and the kids still don't get it, even if I repeat it. Like sometimes I'll say instructions and I'll let the kids, some kids might figure it out, so I'll let the kids explain to other kids in Korean, but sometimes kids just don't understand for some reason, so then she translates for me when I'm really desperate. In that class, I'm also the disciplinary as well. So my open class, so pretty much when you come to teach in Korea, there's no really anyone to evaluate you except your co-teacher, but once a year, usually in the beginning, this time of the year, because this time of the year, which is October, which for us would be the beginning of the school year, is actually towards the end of them. So back in Canada and probably America too, you start in September and you finish your school in June, right? So you get July and August off. Here in Korea, their school year starts like end of February, beginning of March, and then the school year actually ends, I think, like in beginning of January, end of December. So it's a little bit different. So when I came in August, it was actually halfway through their school year. So this is when they kind of evaluate and have open classes. So open classes, there's 2 types that I am aware of. There might be more. So one type is, the idea of open class is that your classroom is open, hence the name open class. So pretty much what happens is you have a class and then you usually know when it's going to happen just so you can prepare for it. Me and my teacher, like we planned the lesson plan more detailedly than we usually do, and then we got to pick the open class that we got to pick the class we want to do the open class with, but not everyone's able to do that, obviously. And then sometimes you just don't know when it's going to happen, so hopefully you're on your A game. And then pretty much what happens is there's 2 ways that happen. So one way is other teachers, parents are able to come to class at any time and usually stay the whole time, as well as the principal and the vice principals might be there. And just because you're kind of like the foreign teacher, everyone's really curious about you, so a lot of the other teachers might come too. And usually they might even like record you or film you for your whole 40 minutes of your class. So that's one type of open class that I am aware of, which I didn't do. So for me, my open class was actually open class for my school. So my school is a pretty big school, so we had 2 days of open class, but I only had the second day of the 2 days. And so pretty much, it wasn't just me, it was a bunch of teachers, so no teachers came to my class just because they were all nervous about their class, and also they were busy teaching their classes perfectly too. So for my open class, parents were invited, but this year for some reason, instead of sending like a notice to every parent that there's open class day, we just relied on the students to tell their parents, and obviously the students didn't, so we didn't have any parents in our classroom, even though we expected a few, which was kind of sad. I was looking forward, like I know my kids pretty well, and I was looking forward to like seeing like the face behind the kid. That sounded weird, but like face behind the kid. And also like at home we have a parent-teacher conference. I don't think they have them here. It seems like it's pretty segregated between teacher and parent, but I don't know, I think it's kind of important. So that's one thing that I'm not the biggest fan of teaching here, but I mean, like, I love everything else about it. So my open class, the parents were invited, and they're able to stay the whole class. And I think when it's open class, it's usually only the moms that come because the dads usually work. And it's really rare that a dad can get it off work the whole day. because they usually come, the usually open class, the parents would follow the kids to their classes, so like different rotation. So the parents can come, and also for my day that I came, the principal and vice principals, I have two vice principals came too. But because they were on a tight schedule to see all the open classes, they literally only stayed for like 5 minutes at most. And I don't really know if it's a good way to evaluate because they came during 5 minutes and they came at a really random time of my lesson. So I didn't think I did a good job, honestly, when they came in, but I was really confident about my lesson. But then after, when I saw them at lunch and then also at the assembly after, they said I did a great job. So I think they kind of know what they're looking for, so it's just more pretty energy in the room. So yeah, that was my experience with the open class. And then apparently after they evaluate you, but not for me, it wasn't with me. They actually sat down with my co-teacher to talk about me. So I haven't heard any feedback yet. But a funny experience is that my principal wanted to say a speech to me about my open class because he really enjoyed it. So pretty much he wrote a speech, and my principal knows more English than most older Korean men should know, which is like really good. But it's pretty broken. So he wrote a speech in English to me, but I guess he wasn't maybe confident about his English. So he gave it to the vice principal to proofread, and then the vice principal gave it to my co-teacher to proofread, and my co-teacher gave it to me to proofread to make sure that it made sense. And then after I proofread it, I have to give it back to my co-teacher to give to my vice principal, and then the principal is gonna call me into his office to say the speech to me, and I'm gonna pretend that I've heard it for the first time and gonna be flattered, but it's really my own words. So that's kind of like a Korean thing. I don't know if that's a normal occurrence, but I mean, it's kind of funny. So yeah, that's my story about my open class. Not that exciting, but if you're in Korea and you have one coming up, or if you're curious about what open class is and you gonna come to Korea, that's pretty much what it is. It's not that nerve-wracking as it sounds. I was pretty nervous. Maybe just nicer than usual, look kind of nice, do your hair and whatever. And I was just be your usual self. So that's it. All right, bye.